Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus pilot, and welcome to the delivery ramp at the Airbus factory in Hamburg, Finkenwerder. Today we're going to take delivery of a brand new A321LR, which is a Neo for those of you who are not aware. This one's programmed by Flight Sim Labs and we are going to fly it from Hamburg over to Oslo. Now, before we start, a quick message from today's sponsor, Say Intentions AI. If you're looking for an ATC add-on, then look no further than Say Intentions. They provide not only your standard IFR A to B flight, but also data link services. They are capable of doing VFR flights and a lot more. So, if you like what you're going to hear in today's video, then be sure to check them out using the link in the video description or the pinned comment below. And with that out of the way, let's get straight into it. So we're going to board our A321 over here, and here we are, the Flight Sim Labs A321neo cockpit. Looks fairly familiar, a couple of very nice things down here, such as the new radio communications unit. We also have things like this one, and we have a couple of very nice features in this aircraft that we're going to go over in today's flight. Now, let's go ahead and start with some of the basics though by going into the EFB. And down here, the first thing we'll do is to have an actual look into the briefing. So, we'll make things easy today. Our weather is looking very, very good, which we can see by looking at the significant weather chart down here, if it finally loads. A little bit of icing in the area of Oslo, but that's not going to be much of a problem. The local airport weather is also looking very good. Clear skies, southerly winds, temperature 19 degrees over there, and over here in Hamburg it's pretty good as well. Now, our alternate top, also wonderful weather conditions, so with that out of the way we can make a very easy decision on the fuel quantity. An on-time departure means an on-time arrival. Level 380 is planned, lots of margin to all the weights, and finally, going into the fuel section, we can quickly decide that we don't need anything extra. 4.5 tons is all we need. Now, one lovely feature of the Flight Sim Labs Airbus is that you can actually operate the fuel panel of the aircraft, and I'll show you how this works. So you can load it up in your browser, or for example also on your tablet as you wish. You are going to turn on the battery power, and now what we're going to do is to select the fuel quantity that we wish to carry. So today we want 4.5 tons, so we're going to select that down here on the pre-select function, and now all we got to do is to call for a fuel truck, and then that fuel quantity is going to be fueled up into our airplane. That's a pretty nice thing. So let's go ahead and just leave this once again, because we now have to actually power our airplane up. So starting with the basics over here, the engine start levers are off, the mode selector is in norm, the weather radar is off. Let's actually see down here. Yes, weather radar off, predictive wind shear is off, landing gear lever is down, the wipers are off. Batteries have more than 25.5 volts, which is kind of expected because we're taking delivery of a brand new aircraft, but nonetheless, we want to do things right, do we? So, external power is coming on, and with that our airplane is coming to life, slowly but steadily. Now, things may take a little while up here, but we can make good use of that time, first of all by turning up the brightness of our MCDUs. Here we go, then we can turn our radio panels on, number 1 and number 2 and number 3. Alright, so while the airplane is powering up, let's go back into the EFB and just run a couple of basic items over here. And tell you what, let's just get rid of that frequency. Thank you, silence. So, from here on, let's have a look into the technical logbook of our airplane. It is a brand new aircraft from the factory, but there is one deferred item over here. Just a cold water tap button missing. That's easily going to be rectified later on. No reason to delay the delivery of our aircraft, but nonetheless just worth mentioning. So we do have that one up here. Okay, but nothing significant that would actually affect our flight. Cool, so with that stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and actually turn on our ADRs, number 1, 2 and 3. We're not going to turn on the APU just yet, we don't need that yet, but what we're going to do is to go right down into the MCDU. Now, let's go to the ATSU, AOC menu, init, and init data request. Now, if you're wondering, I just recently got myself a Wing Airbus MCDU, yes, a review will be coming, and that's what I'm using to interface with this, so it's fully integrated. Pretty nice thing, to be honest. But that also means that you will not see me pressing the mouse buttons, but much rather I'm pressing the physical buttons on my keyboard. Okay, so the basic flight data is here. Now let's go into the crew data, and that's going to be my crew code over here, and then we just have a co-pilot, and that's got to be entered. Very nice. So from here on, let's go into the OFP data, and this stuff is basically uplinked by SimBrief over here. For the block fuel, we'll select 4.5, and scheduled time of departure, it's 16:30 right now. Let's make it 1700. So 1700 into here. Yeah, zero fuel weight is looking good, the rest of the stuff is looking good, refueling via GSX is selected, then we can send this data. Alright, now going back from here, let's go to the boarding page, and over here there's a bit of stuff to do. So we have 2 pilots, 0 cabin crew, we have 6 people in the front, 0 in the middle, 0 in the back, because they are obviously all sitting in business class. We also shouldn't have any catering on board, so let's insert a 0 over there. And yeah, that's about everything we need. So I can say we can start the boarding of our people now. We can also attach the tuck already and then request that boarding. So with that out of the way, I'd say let's go ahead and get our departure ATIS, and let's have a look. We have gotten a lot of different messages down here. Actually, a good load of different messages. They all seem to be somewhat up to date, so let's see. Okay, that's old. That's old. That's old. So, that's new. Slot notification, CDOT 1713. So, yeah, that's very good. So that means we can be airborne at 08 until 23. Easy going with that. Alright, then we have a preliminary load sheet, which is flight 9150 from Finkenwerder to Oslo on the Sierra Echo Delta Mike Romeo, which is this aircraft. 2 pilots, 0 cabin crew, 49.9 tons, 0 fuel weight, underloaded by 25.7 tons, 6 passengers, which are all airline staff, sitting in the front, looking good. So, portable water 100%, catering will be 0, and fuel in tanks 4.5. Looks good, we can accept this. And last but not least, we also have an ATIS, which is Finkenwerder Info Alpha at 1550, Runway 23 in use, transition level 60270 at 8, QNH 1026. And we can dial that one up twice. Very good. Alright, so that's all the data link stuff we need to do for now. Then let's just go over to the FMGC menu, cross check A321-200, LEAP 1A engines, nav database is up to date, flight plan uplink is here already and has automatically uplinked. Wonderful. That's all we're going to do down here for the moment, because next we're going to go into the takeoff tool and do our preliminary takeoff calculations. So, Finkenwerder, runway 23. The takeoff weight looks pretty much okay, the weather is good as well, CG is good as well. Let's hit calculate. Now just an honest question here. Who's programmed the chosen takeoff speeds? I mean, the minimum speeds are correctly calculated, so it's not a mistake, but we're at 55 tons. There is no operational reason to select the upper limit of the speed ranges that we have. There's absolutely no operational reason for that. It doesn't make sense. So that's hopefully something they are going to rectify with a future update. On the positive side though, they do simulate both V1 ranges and they also tell you the stop margin. So that's a pretty cool thing. Well, one thing that we are looking for right now though is the performance limit takeoff weight here, that's 98.1. So we know that we can depart on today's conditions. Okay, and with that out of the way, let's go ahead and accept our airplane for service. So recoil, press and hold for 3 seconds. That is looking good. Then the oxygen quantity is fine, hydraulic quantities are fine. Engine oil, let's power up the FADEC for that. So engine oil quantity is fine. Flaps are up, agree with the lever, spoilers are retracted. So releasing the parking. Why did that kill my electrical? Why do they disconnect the external power when I release the park and brake? That makes no sense whatsoever. Okay. There is an easy solution for that. Starting the APU. Let's just quickly go down here into the options. External controls, GPU connect, chocks connect. And here we go. Now we have power again. Now, this is something that can totally happen in the real world, especially with those external power units that are not built into the ground, but with those units which are actually brought there on a little trailer or something the likes. Because those units, well, they need to be refueled, and when they run out of fuel, they shut down.
Please place your large bags into the overhead locker, wheels first. Keep your small items.
So yeah, that stuff does happen.
These include laptops.
So let's just wait until the airplane has completely started up again. In the meantime, is our uplink still here?
Please take your seat.
Yes, it
To
is.
help us ensure a prompt departure, we would kindly ask that you keep the aisle clear, enabling.
Okay, now they gotta live with the noise problems.
As we are currently refueling,
Not my issue anymore.
the seatbelt remains unfastened until the seat.
Okay, APU avail,
This is a no smoking service.
APU bleed on,
Observing this policy.
and here we go. So now let's try the alternate brake check once again. Park and brake off, press the pedals. I would actually expect a little bit more brake pressure. We should be able to get 1000 psi out of here. So 500 is very, very little. Okay, brakes released and park and brake set again. Interestingly enough, with the park and brake set, we get more than enough brake pressure, so that in itself doesn't seem to be a problem. Okay, refueling is finished. I like it. Well, and with this we have finished our preliminary cockpit preparation, so let's turn on some lights and then we're going to head out for the walkaround. And here we are, so let's go ahead and have a look at our lovely Airbus A321neo, and let's have a look at how good the Flight Sim Labs external model actually is. So the walkaround starts down here on the static ports, and my first impression is pretty good textures over here. Very high resolution. Now looking at the model itself, again, the text is completely high resolution. Down here all the stuff is looking good, even though up here, you know, a little bit more detail would probably be nice inside the wheel well. At least for a product of this level. So, look at that, they actually removed the external power once again. Oh well, so be it. Alright, so the oxygen discharge disc is green, that's important. The pitot tubes are looking okay, tap probe as well, ice detectors down here. Actually no, that's not an ice detector, interesting. Okay, so static port is good, the radome is good and latched. What was that? Is someone shooting here? I thought we were in the factory in Germany and not in the factory in the States. Why is someone shooting? So, static port is clear, tap probe is clear, and the pitot probe is clear as well. Interesting, this airplane has actually 2 oxygen discharge discs. Okay, well, so be it. So, getting up to the next static port, and that's still looking good. When we're walking across a door, it's always a good idea to have a look at the door as well. Something I do notice, by the way, is the polygons over here, here, and here. Look at how they just made it two flat surfaces. A little bit higher level of detail would probably have been nice. Likewise over here on the door, you can really count the polys over there. That's probably a little bit better on the competition. Alright, perfect. They are loading the bags of our acceptance team. Nice. So now at least we know that those are on board. So, little look downstairs. Man, they could have cleaned that airplane. What did they do with it before they sold it to us? Alright, down here the beacon is in a good shape, and everything else is looking good as well. Wonderful. So, it's a bit of a pity. This over here is where the fuel panel, the one that you can access online, this one, would be located. It's a bit of a pity that they don't simulate that on the outside model, because FS 2024 is perfectly capable of doing that. Now, let's have a look at the core of this aircraft, and that's of course the CFM LEAP 1A engine. You can see the fan blades have that really interesting shape over here that you may already have seen on the GE90 engine as well, and on many other modern engines. That's done to optimize the airflow across the fan blades. But most importantly, this would not be doable with the good old school materials, but you actually need modern materials for that. The problem with this is that those materials are not exactly very sturdy. So what the manufacturers are doing is to glue them together. The black part is the one that's not so sturdy. They glue that together with a leading edge made out of a different material, which is then perfectly capable of withstanding the pressures. The only problem is what happens when you have a bird strike, which may cause impact forces that are not just affecting the leading edges, but that are also affecting the other parts of the fan blade. And the CFM LEAP engine is quite known for fan blades fracturing during bird strikes, and then you can often throw the entire engine away. So keep that in mind. You want to be especially careful looking for feathers and stuff when you are checking those engines. Also, look down here, see that white cross? That's what we gotta check for. Trailing edges, checking for any sign of damages. Now, interesting texture down here. Look at this. When I looked over here, it looked like there was something wrong, and yeah, it's just the texture. You can see I'm very, very careful here. Since we are taking delivery of a brand new aircraft, you never know what they might have done wrong in the factory. Alright, so the brake wear indicator pins are in a good shape, and the brakes are still very new. The wheels and the tires are looking excellent as well. The pins have been removed. Wonderful. So then, the emergency exit door is checked. Everything good, everything good. Airflow valve is open. Nothing inside, just a black box in there. So, stabilizers are looking good. Nav light is working. Then a quick check down here. This is where the tailplane would make contact in case of a tail strike. There's nothing on there. Very good. Okay, so back to the front, checking the leading edge. And everything looking good over here as well. Then we can move all the way to the front. And on this side, we're going to do the same thing that we also did on the other side. So not worth talking about too much of that stuff. One thing that is worth mentioning is those brake fans over here. When you see those fitted to the aircraft, then it may be worth taking your protective hearing equipment off for a moment to hear or to listen if those brake fans are actually turned on. And if they are, then you probably want to keep a little bit of a distance, because the carbon dust that they can produce and that they can emit into the air can easily cause cancer. So, gotta be a little bit careful there. Of course, this airplane has been standing for a while, since they have been thoroughly checking it from the airline over the course of the past couple of days. And with that, we are... oh, that's an interesting texture down here. Could probably do that a little bit better. But with that, we're done with our walk around, and we now know that our airplane is in a good shape. So let's head straight back up those stairs, and... oh, they closed the door already? Again, another nice thing that you could simulate here would be a click spot to open that door. That's all possible in Flight Sim 2024, so it would be very nice if they did something like that. Alright, and with that our walk around is complete. So we do have a new company message already. Also, we gotta turn up those units again. Probably got killed when the external power dropped out. Here we go. So there is another message. So first of all, the fuel uplink. So 3245 liters, density 0.2, fuel supplier total, difference 0.0. That's the important thing. Okay, sending the fuel report, and then let's see, load sheet with revisions. Okay, so we'll have that in mind. We'll not accept it just yet. Let's actually start with our pre-flight procedure in here. So, crew supply on, flight recorder ground control on, CVR test is good, lights are on, signs are on, drag flow can definitely go to low, fuel pumps are coming on since refueling is complete, fire test, checked on number 1, checked on number 2. Right side is all clear. QNH 1026 is trust checked. 20th of June 25 is checked. Alright, so we'll get to the frequencies a little bit later. Weather radar is set, and transponder is on standby with above pre-selected. I like it, so let's listen to VHF2 as well. Okay, cool. Then we can go straight into the MCDU. Let's just quickly grab our SimBrief flight plan as well, so that you guys can follow along when we are doing this. So, starting on the aircraft status, and making sure that there is nothing saved from the previous flight here. Now, for the init page, we're going from Echo Delta Hotel India to Echo November Golf Mike, Scandinavian 9150, alternate top, and A321neo is planned. Our 23 flight time is looking good to me as well. Alright, so then, cost index 21 is checked, flight level 380 is checked. Then let's go to the departure. It's going to be a runway 23 today with a Hamburg 3 whiskey departure. The arrival is going to be in ILS 19 left. We got the Lunep 4 mic, and it's automatically selected the Titlar transition, which is wonderful. So then we can enter this, now to the secondary, copy active. So XFWX2 is going to be the emergency point. That's based on the departure airport runway 23, 227 is the runway track, 25 miles, and store. And now look at how it correctly inserts that waypoint after the departure airport. That's how it's supposed to work, and interestingly enough, the competition couldn't get this to work for 3 whole years. So, holding is inserted. There's a little insert prompt missing down here though. You should need to insert that one separately. And then immediate return back to the factory. So if anything breaks, we'll just return it for a refund and a repair, and just bring it straight back to the factory. Alright, and that's now entered. Now let's put the same thing in on the fix page. With runway 23, core radial 227, and XFW emergency 2. Alright, now something that the competition can't do either, that's the pilot route page. Now let's give this some fictional name here. Say XFW Oslo. Store that flight plan, and now look at this. On this page you can cross-check the entirety of the route. So we have runway 23 as a departure with a Hamburg 3 whiskey departure which ends at Hamburg. Then Mike 852 ALSI, which we can cross-check over here, direct LVAF, direct LUNIP, and then LUNIP for Mike arrival to Titler, and the approach transition to OSPAD, and then an ILS approach runway 19 left. And with that we can cross-check the accuracy of the entire uplink. That's standard operating procedure. You do that on every single flight, and it doesn't work in the Phoenix. FS Labs is doing this perfectly fine. Okay, so with that the route is cross-checked. Now let's continue with our performance, and for this I'm going to open the load sheet on the right MCDU here, just because, well, we can just enter the final figures here. So we got 50.7, and the CG is 21.5. Insert block fuel 4.5. Now that gives me a takeoff weight of 55.0, and that's 55.1 in here, good enough. Except just 4 passengers now, expected 6, but okay. If they only want us to take 4, that's fine with me. So takeoff CG is 19.5. We'll recalculate that in a few moments. For now let's insert the rest of the fixed page down here. So for the fuel figures, reserve 0.2, alternate 0.7, and final 0.9. Lots of rounding up going on over here, so if it tells us minus 0.1, that's totally fine. And we still haven't done the weather request anyway. Let's do that now. So wind request, and then we can go to our takeoff performance, and I suggest we're just going to enter the original data over there. So let's see, 19.5 and 55.1. So that's okay, that's not okay. 19.50. Okay, that is better. Then let's hit calculate. So config 1 plus F, 57 degrees, and trim 2.4 up. 1/up 2.4 and 57 degrees flex. Takeoff speeds, we'll take the higher V1, so 160, 160, 163. Okay, reduction acceleration, let's make that 1000 each. So including field elevation, something like 1100 and then 1600 for the engine out acceleration. Nothing for the next phase, and finally our departure runway in here. Good, and that's our FMS setup completed. So then let's just go ahead and cross-check our SID. So for this we go back into the Navigraph app. So import Finkenwerder, pinned charts, and here we go. So initial climb clearance to 5,000 feet. Then, let's see, Hamburg 3 Whiskey, Runway 23, 500 feet, Hotel India 100, and then 1500 or higher. And down here we've got 500 feet, Hotel India 100 or 1500. Then a left-hand turn, Hotel India 110, maximum 220, Hotel India 111. And we got 110, 220 and 111. And then we continue northbound to Hamburg VOR. And that's it, speed 250 below 100. Not applicable in airspace Charlie. Well, we are in Charlie, but since they have a lot of VFR traffic over here, we'll just stay with that. So, contact Bremen radar immediately after takeoff on 120.54, unless ATC gives us anything different, and with that we're pretty much done up here. Okay, so that's our setup completed. Now let's go ahead and get our IFR clearance. So that's going to be ATSU, AOC menu, ATC request, pre-departure clearance. We're in gate 107, flight number SAS 9150, ATIS was Bravo, Moin, and A321neo is correct, recipient is Finkenwerder. Let's send that. And then we'll see what we're going to get back. the airplane is fully integrated with Say Intentions AI, except for the ATIS. It can't pull the ATIS from there, so you can nicely see that over here on the departure ATIS alpha that this is a VATSIM ATIS, because they say for clearance contact Bremen radar on 12054. So this is actually VATSIM and not Say Intentions. Okay. So that's pretty good. With that, everything is done down here. So we are just waiting for our clearance. In the meantime, let's find our departure frequency. So tower is on 123255, apron 121655. So 123255 going in here. Okay, here we go. Finkenwerders. Clearance number 46. So first of all, Wilco. Because these things need to be answered rather quickly. By the way, it's very nice to see that they send us the PDC in here and not via the CPDLC system. The CPDLC one is a little bit of an unconventional one. Most Airbuses do get their clearances down here, because that way you can have PDC without having CPDLC. Okay, so let's have a look. We are cleared to Oslo via Hamburg 3 Whiskey departure, maintain 4,000 feet. Set. Departure on 118205, which we can basically pre-select in here. And then squawk 2133, expect runway 23. So, squawk 2133. Alright, that's looking good. We've already Wilco'd it. Now, technically speaking, we should get a confirmation, but let's see if we're actually going to get anything. In any case, with that, we are pretty much done down here. We've cross-checked that data with our FMS, so we now know that we are fully ready to go. Okay, so APU is online, then we can disconnect the external power unit and call for GSX to prepare our position for pushback and departure. So let's go, services, and prepare for pushback and departure, please. Wonderful. Alright, cool. So we are done with everything. Looks like they're actually connected already. Very quick today. I like it. Well, but we have a briefing to do first. Okay, so departing Hamburg Finkenwerder, runway 23, Hamburg 3 Whiskey departure, initial climb 4000, MSA 2300, extra fuel and time is, well, it says -1 down here. It's pretty much going to be accurate once we're in the air. Okay, hotspots for taxi routing. That is honestly, especially VFR traffic that might be here, and the fact that we got to backtrack the runway. Also, the FS Labs A321neo taxi is a little bit different than the Phoenix Airbuses do. For this reason, we still got to get used to the tiller behavior in this aircraft, and this is probably the main threat. So, what do we take from this? Well, mostly that we're going to enter turns very, very slowly. And that's the main takeaway point here. Apart from that, I have nothing special or non-standard. Stop margin for an RTO is going to be 184 meters plus the TAS effect. Engine out sits straight at 25 miles to the Finkenwerder X2 point, climbing 3000. Then we can come back, so for anything that's going really, really wrong, we'll just claim the warranty and bring the airplane straight back to the manufacturer. I think that's the best thing to do here. Alright, and as mentioned, nothing special, nothing non-standard. The 220 knot restriction there is not going to be a problem. Clean speed 193. The low level of maybe a bit of a problem though. We are probably going to develop a significant rate of climb, since we are just about at 55 tons here, and the airplane is certified for 97 tons of takeoff weight. So I might reduce the thrust to climb thrust a little bit earlier than usual, just to avoid that super huge rate of climb. Do you have any questions, comments, or concerns? No? Wonderful. Then let's do the cockpit preparation checklist, please. Gear pins and covers removed. Fuel quantity. That's 4,440 kilos balanced. Seatbelts on, ADRs, nav, and barrel ref. QNH 1026. Cockpit preparation checklist complete. Alright, so far so good. Then let's call tower and get our clearance. Finkenwerder Tower, Scandinavian 90150, request pushback and startup.
Scandinavian 90150, pushback and startup approved. Face north.
Pushback and startup approved, facing north, Scandinavian 90150. So, turn from cockpit. Please confirm all doors and hatches are closed, ground equipment is removed, and the bypass pin is installed. Okay, all confirmed, thank you, and we are cleared to push facing north. That's going to be the nose to the right hand side, and the parking brake is set. Okay, release brakes. So, nose right. Brakes are released. Start the pushback, stand by for engine start. Roger. Okay, so looks like our airplane is broken straight away. But here we go, on the way with our brand new ride. And you guys can bet what the next sector is going to be. In fact, I can teaser that much. It will be a real-world route, and it is most definitely one that Scandinavian Airlines flies. So, I guess you got 3 choices. 2 to be precise. Look at Flight Radar and you'll know what I'm talking about. Alright, so far so good. Then let's go ahead and start the engines in sequence 1, then 2. So, engine 1 start. Let's look at and listen to this one from the outside, and then we'll have a look at the other one for the systematic point from the inside. Okay, and that's a good start on engine number 1. Parking brake is set. Please disconnect all the pushback equipment and we're starting engine 2. So, let's have a look at the engine start in a bit of a detail. The start valve is open, and 2 starts to increase. By the way, it's a Neo. You can see it's indicating which engine is starting. So, oil pressure is increasing, and N1 starts to rotate at about 19%. That's very good. Fuel is inserted. Next we're looking for ignition, and here we go. And with the ignition comes the further increment in the RPMs. You can see the oil getting sucked into the engine. So next up the start valve is going to go out. And here's a little bug, the avail light should really only come once the engine is stabilized, and not at 14%. But apart from that, that's a very good engine start. Okay. We'll turn one of the packs off to conserve a little bit of fuel here, and trim up 2.4. Like this. So, we forgot to do one thing, that's the before start checklist, so let's go ahead and read that one real quick. And there's the marshaller, holding a pin, going away, perfect. So before start checklist, parking brake set, takeoff speeds and thrust, V1 160, VR 160, V2 163, flex 57. Windows are closed and the bacon is tasty. Before start checklist complete, after start checklist please. Now what's this? Hi, Emmanuel here.
Hello, it's Nolan.
Hi.
Let's the cabin secure for takeoff.
Okay, danke.
Thank you.
Okay, so after start checklist, anti-ice, off, ecam status, checked, then pitch trim, let's see, that's 20% set, rudder trim neutral, and that's the after start checklist complete. So now the question, with this new audio control panel, where did the button to clear the cabin call go to? On the older buses, or rather on the older audio control panel, there's a button at the side, but yeah, I guess it will eventually go away. Fair enough. Okay, cool. So we are ready for taxi. Scandinavian 9150, request taxi.
Scandinavian 90150, taxi to runway 23 at your discretion.
Taxi to runway 23 at our discretion, Scandinavian 9150. Hello, Emmanuel here? No? Okay, fine. Aha! Reset cabin. Here it is. Nice. Good. Okay, so runway 23 at our discretion. Clear on the left side, clear on the right side, and it's a fairly easy taxi route, so runway 23 is just over there. I'm surprised to say that the airplane does not move on idle. You do need some thrust to get going. Once you're going, it's no problem anymore. But it's interesting because those engines over here are almost the same ones that we had under the 737 MAX. This one has CFM LEAP 1As and the MAX has CFM LEAP 1B. 1A, 1 Airbus, 1B, 1 Boeing. So I would expect the idle thrust to be the same. And of course at a higher weight, 90 something tons, I can absolutely understand that the airplane doesn't roll on its own. But we're at 55 tons here. It should absolutely start to roll on its own there. Scandinavian 9150, request backtracking runway 23.
Scandinavian 90150, backtrack on runway 23 approved. Proceed when ready.
Backtracking runway 23 approved, Scandinavian 90150. Okay, so we're clear on the right side, and we are clear
Approaching
on the left
2,
side.
3.
Nice. So, entering the runway, strobe light on.
On runway 0, 5.
That is checked.
1,500 meters remaining.
So, the sounds in the cabin are okay in my opinion, but as you can see, no wing flags. Which surprises me, because the old FS Labs Airbuses definitely had wing flags in P3D. But okay, that's how it is. So, flight control track please. Full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral, rudder, full left, full right, and neutral. Okay, I have no changes to the takeoff briefing. So transponder is set. Weather radar. And takeoff config. All looking good. Okay, perfect. Taxi checklist, please. Flight controls, checked. Flap setting. Config 1 plus F. Radar and predictive wind shear, on and auto. Engine mode selector, norm. And ecam memo, takeoff, no blue. Taxi checklist, complete. So, now comes the 180. And that's going to be an interesting part here, because the FS Labs Airbus has quite a different tiller behavior from the Phoenix Airbus. So with the FS Labs, you initially do some input and get almost no response at all, and then all of a sudden it starts to react really, really strongly. And at least from my experience with the A330, that is not how the airplane would behave. But then again, A321
Approaching
might of course be
2,
different.
3.
However, I don't expect so, to be honest.
On runway 2, 3.
And it's very easy to oversteer. Okay. So, brake is set, and are you ready? Scandinavian 90150, ready for departure.
Scandinavian 90150, runway 23, wind 265 at 8, cleared for takeoff.
Runway 23, clear for takeoff, Scandinavian 90150. Okay, cabin, prepare for departure, please. So, that's everything done. Lineup checklist. Takeoff runway is 23 full length. TCAS, TA, RA, and packs 1 and 2 off. Lineup checklist complete. 20 seconds for the packs are over. Brake is released. Very good. Takeoff. Brand new aircraft, my friends. Fresh out of the factory. Manflex 57, SRS, runway auto thrust blue. Thrust set, and 110 knots. See, told you it's overpowered. V1 rotate. Positive climb, gear up. Nav, checked. Okay, setting climb thrust already. And then over to departure. And it should be with a 5 at the end. Okay, flap 0. Speed check, flap 0.
Please keep your seatbelt fastened while the seatbelt sign is
Flame radar, Scandinavian 9150, passing 2,300, climbing 4,000. Let's actually go back to climb mode here.
Scandinavian 90150, Hamburg departure identified, climb 4000.
Maintain 4,000, Scandinavian 90150.
All details can be found in your in-flight. You can also purchase a selection of hot beverages together with drinks and snacks from the bar. We accept payments in pounds,
Okay.
euros, most major currencies, and debit or credit cards. The correct
So, vertical speed 1,000.
And if we can be of any further assistance, then just ask us as we join you in the cabin shortly.
Scandinavian 90150, climb flight level 210.
Scandinavian 90150, climb flight level 210. $21,000 blue. Now look at that, we started the turn the moment the flight director commanded it, and yet we got 0.6 miles off to the right. There's something wrong with the route calculation. Lovely rate of climb here, set standard. And standard is cross checked, passing level 54 now. Man, look at this angle.
Scandinavian 90150, contact Bremen radar on 136.675.
136.675, Scandinavian 90150. Bremen radar, Scandinavian 90150, passing flight level 86, climbing level 210.
Scandinavian 90150, Bremen radar identified. Guten Abend.
Okay, passing level 100, 2 minutes 57 after setting takeoff thrust. What an airplane. Okay. Autopilot 1. Let's leave the seatbelt signs on for a bit, because I have a feeling our pitch will increase above 7 again. On the other hand side, we only have trained staff on board, so it's not going to be turbulent. Let them get up if they want to. So, clear and copy the FMS.
Bremen radar, Eurowings 16 Whiskey, flight level 170. Eurowings 16 Whiskey, radar
So,
contact.
cruising 380, optimum 395. Perfect. Alright, my friends, and that's...
Scandinavian 90150, Bremen radar, climb flight level 310.
Scandinavian 90150, climb flight level 310. Flight level 310 blue. Well, and that's all I have for the time. So let's just go ahead and log on to CPDLC here. So connection, notification. We'll just log on to Denmark and notify. Well, and I think that's all for the time being. So what can I say? Sit back, relax, enjoy the flight, and I'll get back to you during the approach to our destination airport. Alright, my friends, we are on the downwind, following the Lunep 4 mic arrival. About to enter some clouds. The temperature is -4, so let's go ahead and turn on some engine anti-ice here. Now, let's also recycle the fasten seatbelt signs so that our company staff on board knows that it's 15 minutes to landing now. As you have seen, I did turn the seatbelts on a little bit earlier than usual because we really had to dive for the profile here. And apparently the FS Labs has no problem going to something like 7 degrees nose down. So yeah, might as well turn the seatbelt signs on when we're doing that. Now on a non-revenue flight, I don't mind it doing something like that. I actually find it quite funny. But yeah, better not say that too loud when any passengers could probably listen to us. So, just while we're flying through the clouds, you could see something very nice on the windscreen. That's over here, and somewhere down here was one as well. Here it is. That's a feature that was previously known as bug splatter. So, on days where insects could be expected in the air, FS Labs actually smashes those bugs against your windscreen, and it does clock up over time. And the nicest thing is that it remembers these things, so that on your next flight you're going to have the same bugs present again, unless you take an engineering action in the EFB to clean the windshields. And yes, that is an engineering action in the real world. You're not allowed to do it yourself. Okay, so let's go ahead and discuss our approach briefing a little bit. Actually, I tell you what, let's see if we can get a shortcut. My ATC. Come on, FO. Give me the radios. Scandinavian 9150, request to proceed direct titular. Scandinavian 9150, request to proceed direct titular. No? Come on, do something. Oslo, Scandinavian 9150, do you read? Let's see, we should be on 1888. Why are we not on that frequency? Now we are. Very interesting. Maybe that's messed something up. Oslo approach, Scandinavian 9150, radio check. And they don't talk to us anymore. That is interesting. Okay, I tell you what we're going to do. Let's find an approach frequency and just call that. So, approach east 1848. Oslo approach, Scandinavian 9150, level 100. Interesting, not talking to us either. Did we fail our radios? All stations, Scandinavian 9150 on 121.5, radio check. nothing. Now that's very interesting. Restarting the Say Intentions app in the meantime. No idea what's going on over there. Well, let's use the time we have. We're at 100, so lights on, signs on, constraints, LS. And auto brake low, and the rest is set. Alright. And TCAS below as well. Good, so let's try that one more time. Oslo approach, Scandinavian 9150, radio check. Yeah, that was actually on guard. Let's try on
Scandinavian 9150, this is guard frequency. Contact Oslo approach for radio check.
Okay, at least we now know that our radios work. Oslo approach, Scandinavian 9150, level 100.
Scandinavian 90150, Oslo approach identified. God aft and expect the ILS runway 19 left approach into Oslo.
Expect ILS 19 left, Scandinavian 9150. Scandinavian 9150, can we proceed direct Titla?
Scandinavian 90150, proceed direct to Titler.
Aha. Direct to Titla, Scandinavian 9150. Okay, direct to Titla. Oh, what is it doing here? You keep your speed low, my friend. So, back towards 220, please. Okay, so, let's just see. Progress, GPS primary, accuracy high, mode select the norm, approach checklist, please. So, barrel ref, QNH, oh, actually we're still on standard, okay. Scandinavian 9150, request descent.
Scandinavian 9150, descend altitude 5,000 feet.
Descend altitude 5,000 feet, Scandinavian 9150. Okay, thrust idle, open descent, alt, flight level 50 blue, set QNH. QNH 1018, cross check passing 10,000. Now. Okay, approach checklist, please. Barrel ref, QNH 1018, seatbelts on minimum. That's Baro 882, auto brake, low, engine mode selector, norm. Approach checklist complete. Okay, nice. So let's get that sunshade down here as well. And engine anti-ice off. Alright, very cool. So that was interesting with that radio outage for a few moments. Restarting the Say Intentions app fixed it, so I do somewhat expect that it is related. In the meantime, excellent looking aircraft. The LEAP engines fit the Neo very well, don't they? Speed descent. And what would the managed target be? 300? No. Why? If at all, it should be 250, since we're below 10,000. Does it have that in the computer? Yes. Speed limit 250 below 10,000. What happens if I delete that? I can't. Make it 9,000? Oh, that's interesting. No? Erase. Let's try one more time. 250/9000. That works. Let's see, what's the managed target now? Still 300. Still doesn't make sense. But okay. We'll just leave it there. And well, we'll just say on selected 220 then. But that must be a bug in the FS Labs buses. So, fuel now 1900 kilos, but on the 737 I'd get nervous, even if it was an empty flight, but on the Neo Airbuses, we actually still have 4 minutes extra on top of our diversion. So what we could do here is, weather is superb, so let's just commit to landing at our alternate. So let's turn the alternate fuel to 0, final time to 45 minutes, and then we have 9 minutes extra. So now we're committed to
Scandinavian
landing at our
9150, proceed direct OS pad. Descend altitude 4000 until established on the localizer cleared for the ILS runway 19er left approach. Speed below 200 knots until established.
Scandinavian 9150, direct to OSPAT, descending altitude 4000 on the QNH 1019er, speed 200 knots or less, cleared ILS 19 left. Alright. Thrust idle, open descent, 4000 blue. And speed 200. And let's activate the approach phase. So, weather is definitely not going to be an issue, but there are a couple hills around. Let's turn on the terrain display. A little bit above the glide, so I wonder if we're going to be able to catch up. We used to be below the VNAV profile. But well, I think it's going to work out just fine. Maybe we increase drag a little bit. No, it'll work without. So, cleared ILS, Cath Dual, Autopilot 1 and 2, Glass Globe Localizer Blue. Let's see, tower on 19 left is 120105. Well, and then let's have some fun.
Scandinavian 90150, contact Oslo Tower on 118.305.
118.305, Scandinavian 9150. Oslo Tower, Scandinavian 9150, ILS 19 left.
Scandinavian 90150, Oslo Tower, roger, continue ILS, approach runway 19er left.
Continue ILS 19 left, Scandinavian 9150. Halt. Flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. So 15 knots direct tailwind. Lovely. Blast up star. So go around altitude initially 3000. Is set. And glide slope. 13 knots tailwind. 190 knots ground at 19E, that's actually okay. We're doing quite well. So let's get rid of the sunshades. And then lock. We might as well just pre-select ground.
Scandinavian 90150, winds 205 at 11, runway 19er left, cleared to land.
Runway 19er left, clear to land, Scandinavian 9150. Okay, clear to land. So, ground will be 12605. Well done, flaps 2. Speed checked, flaps 2. Gear down. So here's something that's really weird. The real Airbus would correct for the differences in the lift when the flaps extend, and it would correct the pitch. The FSL doesn't seem to do that. It just keeps the pitch constant, which is the reason why all of a sudden we were climbing a bit here when I watched the flaps come out. Okay, flaps 3. Speed checked, flaps 3, and that's actually going to be our final setting. Landing checklist, Nika memo, landing no blue, landing checklist complete. And I think the drag with flaps 3 is probably a little bit too much. If we look at how strong we are descending, and at the same time our speed is, well, rather stable. I probably would not expect it to be like that, but hey, not going to complain, it's going to help us. So, the cabin call has been cancelled in the meantime, very good. Alright, so let's see how this airplane is gonna land on this attempt. The aim is to put it right onto the marker. Right onto the large one. Of course, it always depends a little bit on how well your glide slope and PABI are cooperating. If you don't pass 50 feet over the threshold, then the marker may be a difficult goal to achieve, but let's try to get it right. Land.
100 above.
Checked. Okay, the glide slope actually looks very good over here.
Minimum.
Continue. So, first landing at the new home base.
50, 40, 30, 20, retard, 10.
What a banger. Spoilers, reverse green, decel. Exactly where we wanted to put it down. Lovely. 70 knots, manual brakes.
Scandinavian 90150, welcome to Oslo. Contact ground on 121.905.
121.905, Scandinavian 9150.
1,200 meters remaining.
So now comes the difficult part, the one where we are transitioning onto the tiller. And yeah, I expected something like this to happen. I think they need a better solution for this, for the transition from using the rudder only to using the tiller. Oslo ground, Scandinavian 9150, request taxi to gate 505.
Scandinavian 90150, taxi to East Apron Stand 79er via Bravo 4 Tango Juliet Romeo. Good day.
Negative, request gate 505, Scandinavian 9150.
Scandinavian 90150, taxi to gate 505 via Bravo 4 Tango Juliet Romeo.
Taxi gate 505 via Bravo 4, Tango Juliet Romeo, Scandinavian 9150. Okay, so very quick check. So Bravo 4, Tango, Juliet, Romeo? That makes no sense. 505 is down here. Okay, I tell you what, I don't care. We'll just do it anyway. So, what's wrong? Why isn't it taxiing? Now it's doing it. That was weird. Almost as if we blew a tire on the landing. I mean, it sounded like it, but from the flying part in itself, there is absolutely no way we blew a tire here. Unless, of course, they tried to sell us some, you know, bad materials or stuff. Okay, after landing checklist. Radar and predictive wind shear off. After landing checklist complete. So now it's taxiing normally again. Really not sure what happened there. But anyway, we don't need to care. Okay, start APU. So let's just stop it over here, because 505 will come up next and we don't have GSX just yet. So let's just go down here into the GSX options. We want to be parking on the hangars. Okay, they have 506 and 601 in here. That's fine, then we take 506. Follow me, no thanks. And handling by Scandinavian. Pretty nice that you can do this stuff down here. Alright, so now tell me, that's the wrong direction. How are you supposed to get in there? You gotta be kidding me, huh? Okay, I tell you what, then we stick to 505. I don't care if GSX doesn't want to do it right. We're not forced to use it. We can always help ourselves. Come on, airplane, what are you doing? 28% power, you must move. The brake is not set. Why do we need 35% breakaway power? There's something definitely wrong there. And look at that, it stops immediately when I go back to idle. It definitely seems like there is something wrong in our landing gear, but if there is, why did it work fine earlier and is broken only now? I mean, it was problematic when we left the runway, then it was fine when we entered the apron, and now it's problematic again, so pretty sure there is a bug involved. Look at this, man. The plane should accelerate to 30-40 knots on idle. Alright, so I'll just take it that this is it. Park and brake is set, APU avail, and APU bleed on. Here we go, shutdown. 1, 2. Interesting behavior of the pack sound here, by the way. Okay, and here we are. So, engines running down, beacon, seatbelts, and fuel pumps. Very good, so parking checklist. Parking brake chocks. Let's actually get ourselves some chocks, shall we? So, GPU connect, ground shocks connect. Okay, park and brake chocks. Chocks in, brake off, engines off, wing light off, fuel pumps off, parking checklist complete. Alright then, so let's shut it down, and then down into the data link. Atsu, AOC menu. Think it's in it on this one? Yes it is, landing pilot. 330 driver. That's me. In. Well, just gotta wait for one of the doors to open. So let's just tell GSX to start the deboarding here. Ah, it can't because it doesn't think that we're on the stand. Okay, fine with me. Then we do that stuff ourselves. So let's go down here again. Options, external controls, GSX, revoke parking services. Now let's try one more time. Restart GSX. Okay, I tell you what, I don't care. Just open the door so that the ACAS registers that we're on block. Connections, one left. Okay, so and now if we go into the ACAS, you can see that it's actually registered the in time as well. Landing pilot is me. Autoland no is correct as well. Fuel remaining 1.6 is not a lot, but totally fine for this flight, and sent. And with that, we're sending our flight data to the airline so that they can write the aircraft log respectively. And now I'm really interested. Let's go down to the tag log. Nothing in here. Interesting. Failures? Is there anything active? Doesn't look like it. So down here on the wheel page. This is nice. The brakes are getting really hot. Just like in the real Airbus. The Phoenix doesn't heat them up enough. This is what it should look like. And we were really light. Now granted, we didn't use any reversers, just idle, so the entire energy went into the brakes. But nonetheless, this is really nice. This is how Airbus brakes work. You gotta think about them. Alright, and with that, we have made it all the way to our new home. So guys, let me know how you liked today's flight. Let me know how you like the FSL Airbus A321neo. And finally, with all of that out of the way, I'm very much looking forward to your feedback. So, thank you very much for watching. If you liked the intentions on today's flight, be sure to check them out using the link in the video description below. And if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, why not make a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below, which enables me to purchase add-ons like these to give you reviews like the one today. Thank you very much for watching. I'm really looking forward to see you all again on the next one. In the meantime, as always, like, comment and subscribe, and then I see you all again on the next one.